This is a completed steam boiler, Dunkirk steam boiler. It's 700,000 BTUs, and it's got two gas trains. One's a 400,000, one's a 300,000. And if you look at the earlier videos in this series, you'll see that the two gas trains bolt together, and then the sections are built on top of it. Forget how many sections are in here, but that's how this thing was built in pieces in place. And the two gas risers, one goes up this way and the other one's on the other side. Those go all the way up, and then they slope down ever so slightly and then tie into the old original header. The old original header, which is kind of behind here, goes across. Let me get my light and we'll get a better look. And you can see over there the old equalizer coming off of it. So we utilized that existing header and just brought the risers of the boiler up high enough where I could tie back into it. It's got the old valve, which still works, big old 4-inch gate valve of some kind, I think, and it still does work. You can see the two flue connections in the back. They just tie right back onto the brick chimney. Over here we have a McDonald Miller mechanical low water cutoff. That's the one they shipped with the boiler. That's the one I used. There's pros and cons to that. I'm going to do a separate video on the pros and cons of a McDonald Miller number 67 low water cutoff. You can see the sight glass. I just got done skimming this boiler, but the water is still quite dirty, and I'm probably going to have to clean it 2 or 3 times. You can see the water level in there is pretty gnarly, and you can see, if you look closely, sometimes you'll see water spilling over the top there into the sight glass. So that's telling you that water is still dirty and still needs to be cleaned. Of course, shut off, main shut off for the boiler. Big massive transformer that Dunkirk ships with this boiler. I don't know, it's probably big enough to supply 3 houses, but that's what they shipped. Okay, here we have a vapor stat. This is the main operating vapor stat gauge. This is a gauge off the old boiler we just screwed to the top just for looks, and the old crane emblem off the old boiler. So this vapor stat is the main operating vapor stat. This vapor stat is hooked to just this half of the boiler. So if the pressure comes up to wherever I have it, 6 or 8 ounces, wherever that is, it'll shut down half of this boiler. So it's kind of a 2-stage system. I thought I'd try it. We'll drop the 300,000 out when the pressure comes up, keep the 400,000 burning. If the pressure is 0, like right now when I first started it up, both sides are burning. This is the manual reset high limit. I think I set it at 5 pounds. The XT is mounted up here. That's the boiler fill valve, and I just reset it to 0. I was racking up some numbers on there when I was filling it and skimming it, that type of thing. Let me get the light. Here's the skim port, which I've been using today. This perched in behind here is a manual reset low water cutoff. We snuck it in over here because there wasn't room on the other side, and that's a probe type low water cutoff. And then there's one other thing I wanted to show you, and it's perched way back there in the corner. And I think I'm gonna walk around because that's an important part of this install. This pipe here is a return from a main, another part of the basement. And as it comes around, it is above the water level of the boiler. It was below the water level boiler of the boiler of the old one, but the new one it was above. So that means that this would have been a dry return, and it has to be a wet return. So over here we brought it around the corner. This is where we created a false water line. So the pipe comes up. This is steam from the main header, and this is an air vent. So basically we created a trap where the water has to come up here and then back down before it dumps down in here into the return. So that kept this old wet return wet, which is an important part of the system. And then of course you can see this pipe is a return. This is a condensate return. This is a return from the false water line. This is a return from, I forgot, it's the end of main return that comes back. And then we have a service shut off there on the return. And here's our Hartford loop. So these boilers are a little bit different than some in that it has the steam. Let's get back around here. It has the steam main pipes coming off the side of the boiler. Some boiler manufacturers do that, and it's just the way they do it. I'm used to doing Peerless and Slant Fin, and where they have the risers coming right off the top, but this is fine. The nice thing about this boiler is that it can be assembled in place with one person. I've assembled these entire boilers just like this by myself. None of the parts weigh more than 200 pounds. They can easily be gotten down the stairs. You can wrestle them up on top of the burner rack and walk them together, and then basically just tighten them up with big bolts on each side that draw the sections together. So anyway, that's an overview of this boiler. And like I said, I just skimmed it. It's gonna probably need another one. I will come tomorrow and skim it again. The weather here in Colorado is getting cold enough where we can get some run time on this thing. And we'll skim it a time or two more till we can get that water level nice and stable and the water all cleaned up. So, all right. Thank you very much.